Hi, I'm Shanna from houseimprovements.com, and I'm just going to show you how to install a kitchen faucet. So we've actually already installed the actual faucet that we're using here, but I've purchased a very similar one just so we can show you the basics of what you're going to go through to put it in. With the small cabinet under this particular sink, it's really hard to get down there to show you very much. So one of the main things is you're going to have a few choices. You could have a faucet such as this one that has a single lever of some sort. It could be on the side, it could be on the back, whatever. It could have two taps on each side, so obviously style is whatever your preference is. This particular one also has a pull-out nozzle for spraying the sink out. Okay, so that's also another option that it could have. Now with this particular one, you can see obviously where it goes down through the countertop, you only need one hole. So again, most of these faucets are going to come with some sort of a finish plate, just in case you're doing this as part of a, just a retrofit into an existing setup where you maybe had 3 holes in the top of the sink before. They send along this plate with the single hole faucets so that you can put it down, much like we did on this sink. Right here, this one has a plate as well covering up. There's another hole here and here. Okay, so you don't have to use this, but if you need it to cover some other holes, they generally have that included in the kit, as well as the little gasket base that goes into it. Okay, so in our case we did need that because the sink had 3 holes in it. Also in the kit, if you've got the pull-out sprayer, you're going to find a kind of a black football shaped heavy weight. And what that does is once you have the faucet all installed, we'll show this down underneath, but once you have it all installed, this weight gets actually put onto this black hose so that when you have the nozzle out, the actual weight of this football wants to pull that hose back down and keeps it from kind of getting tangled up underneath the counter. Okay, so you have a weight if you have this style of faucet. And then you're going to have a bag of miscellaneous little washers and gaskets and that sort of thing, depending on, again, the type of faucet you have. Now, down below here, if you look on this faucet, we've got 3 other lines coming out of here. Okay, so we've got a hot feed right here, and it'll usually be labeled with some kind of tag that'll tell you if it's the hot or cold. One of them will. Generally, it's the hot. So this is where the hot water line would hook to. This is where the cold water feed would hook to. And this line right here, you'd pull off this cap that's on the bottom of it. And when you have the faucet all installed, because this one has a sprayer, the sprayer line actually connects to that. So if you have a sprayer, pull-out sprayer, that's what you're going to see is 3 lines coming out the bottom. And those are all below the countertop, obviously. Okay, so we've got that. As far as water lines go, you've probably seen me use these flexible braided hoses in other videos dealing with water supply. There's various lengths, so it's just a matter of getting the appropriate length for the distance you have to go. Sometimes your faucet will even have basically one of these on each line as well, and hopefully they're long enough. If they aren't, then you just need to buy an extension that looks similar to these as well. Okay, so you don't need a whole lot for tools. You will need to drill a hole if you don't have one in your counter to fit this. Your instructions will tell you how big that should be. And after that, basically you're going to need a multi-end screwdriver, a small crescent wrench possibly, and maybe some water pump pliers. And that should really get you through all this install. Okay, so again, the steps would be you're going to have a hole in your countertop and sink. You're going to get your faucet itself dropped into that hole, and from there you're going to climb down underneath and hook up the various tighteners or fasteners that hold it. In this case, on this one here, this here you would thread off before you stick it through the countertop. They've got a couple other accessory washers here that you would slide on over all that. And then this would go on again. And these bolts here on each side, once you have this close to snug, would snug everything down and tight. Every faucet has a little different setup, so this is just one example of what it might be. It could just be simply a nut that goes on and holds it down, but usually it's going to be a couple washers and that sort of thing. Okay, so we've got that complete. We're going to move the camera angle, get down below, and try to show you a few things under the sink for the actual hookup. Okay, so here's a shot underneath our sink. You can see we've got our drain pipe and our water lines and everything. There's quite a bit going on under there. But as we just kind of zoom in underneath there, I'm going to try to get a shot of the bottom side where the faucet comes through the countertop. It's going to be a little difficult to tell what everything is because there's so many lines coming out. But as I zoom up there, you can see how our bottom of this faucet comes through the counter, and it has a slightly different fastening setup than the one I showed you up top, but you can kind of make out some of the bits and pieces there. It's really hard to see, but basically that's what you're going to see from up underneath the counter is everything coming through that single hole, all the lines feeding down and into the cabinet space. So as we back out of the cabinet, we'll just have a quick look at the water line setup. You can see them here to the left-hand side. So I've got a hot and cold water. You can see I've got also 2 T-valves in there, and I've talked about those on other videos, I believe, but one of them is for the ice maker coming out of the cold line, and one of them for the ice maker in the fridge, and the other one will be for a dishwasher hookup coming out of the hot line. Then on the top of those 2 lines are the valves for the actual sink. So the one on the left is the hot. It goes up and hooks right onto the bottom of the faucet. And the one on the right, I had to use an extension line, and then it comes up and hooks onto the line on the cold side of the faucet. So, you know, not a whole lot to that. It's just a matter of routing your hoses, trying to keep them out of the way, and that sort of thing. So we've dealt with the water lines, and now if you have a look, you can see the actual pull-out, and you can see the football-shaped weight that's on that line to hold it down. So if I was to pull out the spout up top, you can see how the hose moves, and the weight of that football wants to pull it back down into somewhat the same area so that it isn't getting tangled up with any other lines. So that's really what that football does, and you have to install that once you have everything else down there so you can make sure it's routed properly. So I think that's the main thing that I can tell you for the faucet. And again, like I said, this is just a bit of an overview on the general idea of what you're going to run across. It's going to be a little different from faucet to faucet. Okay, so I think that's going to be a wrap on this video for installing a kitchen sink faucet. We just wanted to touch on the basics of it. Like I said before a couple times, there's lots of different faucets, so it's going to change ever so slightly. So check your instructions with the faucet you get, and good luck on installing it. If you have any questions about this particular item or anything else really, you can go to our forum at house-improvements.com. And check us out there. We've got lots of people online all the time, constantly asking questions or giving their feedback. So if you go on there, I'll be sure to get back to you with your question. And if you like the video, click the thumbs up icon here on the screen where you find it. Thanks a lot.